Oh, well, I think you're muted. But hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we'll probably give
Back.
people.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No
Thank you.
worries.
Thank you. Okay, well,
Yeah,
I
of
think we're going to
course.
go ahead. I'll go ahead and just start and then Katie chime in. Um, so we're going to go ahead and start today. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rupal Parekh. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Social Work and also one of the UConn Tab community coordinators, community engagement coordinators. I'm going to let my colleague introduce herself. Go ahead, Katie.
Hi, everybody. My name's Katie. I got my bachelor's in social work and my master's in social work degree both from UConn, and I've been working with UConn Tab for about 2 years, but just recently started a new position as the community liaison and one of the community engagement coordinators with Rupal.
So we'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on framing and messaging strategies for affordable housing. Again, thank you for joining us. Affordable housing has unfortunately become a controversial topic, but our goal today is to help humanize this issue, provide a basic overview and go over key concepts, and walk through some concrete strategies you can use to open a dialogue on affordable housing in your own communities, specifically in the context of Brownfield's redevelopment process. In today's webinar, we're defining affordable housing and summarizing the issue, talking about the impact of the lack of affordable housing in your communities or in communities across the country, and how this all relates to the brownfields redevelopment and environmental justice. We will also be discussing common concerns surrounding affordable housing. We'll explore how to address those concerns and specific strategies for framing affordable housing conversations in apprehensive communities, which we would imagine are most of your communities. We will conclude with some examples of what affordable housing looks like, as well as a success story featuring a brownfield site redeveloped into affordable housing units. We'll have a few discussion questions along the way, and there will be time at the end for Q&A. So we'd like to ask everyone here, we'd like to start off actually with a discussion question. And we'd like to ask everyone, what does a house mean to you? Or a home mean to you? Feel free to chime in. I don't see any hands. You could use the icon or just jump
You
in.
can also respond in the chat if that's easier.
I'll chime in. I'll say, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Dave.
Hi there. A home means to me a safe place where you have access to shelter, water, and a comfortable place to sleep. So in my neighborhood in Providence, Rhode Island, there's someone who is definitely living in their car with two dogs. And every time I walk by them, I think the things that you don't have when you don't have a home are tremendous. You know, like not having access to your own bathroom is really hard. So I think just kind of those basic heat, shelter, water, restroom are like, that's the basics.
Yeah, thank you.
Rupal, would you mind? I can't see the chat because I'm sharing my
Oh,
screen, but I did
okay.
see there were a few responses that came in.
Yeah, so absolutely. I see them coming up. So I'm hearing a safe place where my household can rest and recharge. Absolutely. I like to go home and recharge myself. A place of permanence, hospitality, safety, memories, belonging, and affiliation. Yeah, I think all of those things make a lot of sense. I keep hearing safe place, place where you build memories, where you can rest and recharge. So I guess like flipping the narrative a little bit, So thinking about, and I think this was brought up, what a home means to you and what it might mean to people that don't have a home, right? What does their life look like and what are the challenges that they may be experiencing? Are those conversations that you're having in your community? Is there anything else that anybody would like to add? So thank you for the short discussion, and we'll be talking more shortly. We find that conversations about home can be very grounding and a great reminder to all of us that everyone deserves a safe place, a healthy place, an affordable place to live. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development defines affordable housing as housing in which the renter or occupant pays no more than 30% of their total income for housing costs, including utilities. That's becoming more and more difficult with the increase in housing prices and, of course, utilities. So what is considered affordable housing varies and changes from different families as affordability depends on household income. When housing is affordable, individuals and families can budget for other necessities like food, transportation, healthcare, childcare, and more. This should be the standard. But with the cost of living today, thousands of people are sacrificing essential purchases to pay for rent. The core principle of affordable housing is that people should never have to choose between one basic necessity and the other. Okay, so this right here is a basic overview of affordable housing and some of the key points of the issue. So we already know that affordable housing is housing which the renter or occupant spends less than 30% of their total income on housing cost. However, we haven't yet gone over who it impacts, which is all of us essentially. We all need affordable housing, housing that is affordable. And in recent years, we have watched housing become less affordable, less accessible, and less reliable. This is an issue that impacts everyone, but there are certain groups that are particularly burdened by the lack of affordable housing. People of color, low-income communities, individuals with disabilities, older adults, single parents. Some of these groups have the strongest need for affordable housing. So where do we need affordable housing? So if we're thinking about where we need affordable housing, really, if we think about it, simply put, affordable housing is needed everywhere. It's needed in big cities, it's needed in smaller towns, and really everywhere in between. It's important to note that we are seeing a rise of gentrification, particularly in urban settings, which tends to increase rent prices, displace residents, and exacerbate the need for affordable housing. But looking at the issue more broadly, the United States is collectively experiencing this housing crisis regardless of where you live, and we all need housing options that are affordable. I know we're seeing this, talk about this a little bit more since the pandemic. So, but when did this all really start? I think this goes back quite a bit of time, and we'll give you more of a timeline, but today's housing crisis can be traced back to the global recession of 2008. Real estate prices for renters and home buyers have been on the rise since. Affordable housing has always been an issue in some capacity, and we'll talk, like we said, more about that on the next slide. But the crisis that we are seeing right now is completely unprecedented. You'll see that in this last column, why there is such a need for affordable housing right now, which boils down to a few key factors. Nationally, people's incomes are far too low to keep up with the skyrocketing costs of living. Housing developments are expensive, and there are so many factors at play that make building affordable housing units a challenge for developers. There's lots of red tape, including community opposition, financing, restrictive land use, and zoning laws. So housing justice and environmental justice. For some more context on this, we'll talk about housing justice and environmental justice and how they are connected. Firstly, let's go through the EPA's definition of environmental justice. So environmental justice is the fair treatment and the meaningful involvement of all people regardless of race, color, national origin, or income with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. There's no formal definition for housing justice, but a lot of organizations define it very simply. This definition is really clear and does a good job of summarizing key points. Housing justice is the idea that everyone deserves safe, affordable, and health-promoting housing, regardless of race, income, gender, ethnicity, ability, and more. Environmental justice and affordable housing are connected through the simple idea that we all need a sustainable place to live. All people have a basic human right to a healthy environment and to safe housing. The environmental justice movement and the housing movement are inseparable, and we won't achieve one without the other. The best way to support these movements is through community engagement, organizing, and education. Informed, engaged, empowered communities that have access to decision-making process are the way forward in terms of EJ, affordable housing, and brownfields redevelopment in general. So here's a timeline, just giving you some historical context, and we think these are important things also to share with the community to help them get a little bit of understanding of the rising housing costs in the US. So we feel free to utilize these resources with your community. To put today's housing costs into perspective, we'll take a look at how rent prices have shifted and changed throughout the past few decades. Starting off in the 1960s, the average rent price across the United States was $71. The median household income was $5,600 in the 1960s, and the average cost of a house was a little over $100,000 in today's currency, making it a lot easier for people to become homeowners. A lot of inflation took place during the 1970s. See a big rent increase for the previous decade at $108 was the rent price. The 70s was the era of stagflation, which refers to the combination of slow economic growth, increasing inflation, and the high unemployment rates. Within this short time period, the median household income went from $9,800 to almost $17,000, which was a huge shift. So in the 1990s, we saw a lot of growth and a notable increase in home ownership rates. Average rent prices go up again to $447. I remember paying around $447, although I lived in Oklahoma in the 1990s. In the early 2000s were characterized by another recession, which brought down household income. A lot of people being out of work, rents are still increasing, and we're now looking at about $602 per month. This time period is largely recognized as the start of the housing crisis we see today, and which was mentioned earlier. As we move into the 2010s, we see economic recovery. The rent prices again skyrocketed with an average price of $1,100, but the median household income also increased by around 30%. So the growth was a bit more balanced than it had been in previous decades. And as we all vividly remember, everything came to a stop in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic. Housing prices and rents have drastically increased in the past few years, but income remains stagnant. In September of 2023, last month, The national average rent was estimated at $2,011 per month. This timeline depicts the steady increase that we've seen in the price of rent across the country, tells a story of how the US has always needed affordable housing, and shows that the severity of this need in 2023. And we mentioned this in the next couple of slides when we talk about the problem, but I just would like to say that although we see these rent increases, we know that some folks have been able to have home ownership more than others. People of color, marginalized populations have had more challenges because of various policies in the United States, like redlining. So we do know that home ownership is the #1 way to build wealth in this country. So populations that that have not been able to build wealth in those ways have been more challenged to pay these increasing costs in rent and in home ownership. So let's
Sorry, before you start, Rupal, I did see your question in the chat, Jamie. And Jamie asked what housing units those rent prices were referring to. Off the top, I think they were averaging the price of a 1 or 2 bedroom unit, but I can send you the source where I got that information from and just double check, because I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe it was, yeah, of course, I believe it was the average price of a 1 to 2 bedroom unit. I'm sorry, you can go ahead, Rupal.
Thank you. Good question. So what is the problem? And of course, we know the problem is huge, but let's take a look at what the lack of affordable housing actually looks like and why it's a massive problem for families in the US. Nationally, there are over 10.8 million families that are classified as extremely low income, and a shortage of over 7 million homes for these families. Over 580,000 people in this country are experiencing homelessness or being unhoused on any given night. This is not a single state or a county. There is not a single state or a county where a renter working full-time at minimum wage can afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Many communities across the US experience overhousing. Individuals with higher incomes are overhoused, means living in a unit that is too large in terms of number of bedrooms for the household size. People of color are disproportionately burdened by the lack of affordable housing. So there's this huge stereotype around affordable housing, which many of you know, right? Where people assume that the people who need affordable housing are not working or refusing to get a job. And this could not be further from the truth. People cannot pay rent even when they are working full-time, or they're working several jobs, the working poor, right? Lastly, 70% of all extremely low-income families are cost burdened, meaning that if they are able to pay rent and afford a place to live, over half of their income is going towards housing, meaning that they need to give up the basic necessities. I was just telling Katie that we recently did a study looking at Vietnamese older adults in Arlington, Texas, where one of my research projects is, and we found that over 80% of older adults in those communities are cost burdened. So these statistics are national, but the picture on the right are from protests in Boston and New Haven. This is an issue right in our backyard, an issue that impacts all of us, and we have an opportunity to make a difference through brownfields redevelopment projects. So we all need affordable housing, or in other words, housing that is affordable. We'd like to thank Jill St. Clair, the Economic Development Director for one of the communities UConn TAB has worked with. She has a lot of experience in this area, and we have learned so much from her, valuable conversations with her. Jill always says, a sheltered community is a vibrant community. And we absolutely agree. New England's housing needs have drastically changed over the years, and we need to make a change to meet this demand. Creating more affordable housing will benefit communities and bring positive opportunities into our New England towns and cities. Affordable housing has been proven to increase economic mobility and growth, reduce intergenerational poverty, which is what we talked a little bit about earlier, decrease the crime that comes with community members being unhoused or extremely cost burdened, and therefore minimizing the burden on health care facilities, social services, and first responders. So what is the cost of inaction? What happens if we don't use brownfields redevelopment to advance the movement for affordable housing? Individuals, families, and communities will ultimately suffer. A lack of affordable housing can be equated to a lack of health insurance and medical care, a lack of reliable and safe transportation, and a lack of quality education. And I think this is a good way of framing it when we're talking to our communities. Not having affordable housing also leads to difficulty paying bills, having enough money for other basic necessities, or risk of eviction, displacement, or homelessness. If you're interested in learning more about displacement, there is a separate webinar on this topic uploaded to our YouTube channel. So we did have a webinar a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, it was not well attended, so we do encourage you to use that as a resource, because we think that there is plenty of resources on there, and we're also happy to chat about it more. On a larger scale, the lack of affordable housing negatively impacts community health. We see increased homelessness or being unhoused. We see a loss in tax revenue, a shortage of workers, as well as less diverse workforce. Not having enough affordable housing in the communities also leads to a greater burden on public services like libraries, transportation systems, first responders, healthcare providers. What we know about homelessness and folks that are unhoused is that families are unhoused. So I think the average age of a homeless person is, I believe, 9 or 12 years old. It's fairly young, because we see families that are unhoused. We see families that are homeless because they're evicted. I think that catches people's attention often. Okay, Katie.
Yeah, thank you, Rupal. And Jamie, I did see your other question in the chat. These slides will absolutely be available. We post the slides themselves on our website, and then, like Rupal was saying, we have our YouTube channel where this webinar is being recorded and it'll be uploaded there. So you will all definitely have access to all this information. But with that, this is where brownfields redevelopment comes in. So building affordable housing units on remediated brownfield sites advances environmental justice and minimizes the displacement of residents and businesses, which are both topics, as you all probably know, that are very important on the grants this year. And I would imagine most of you are here because you're interested in learning more about utilizing brownfields for affordable housing. You might have a project in the works, or you're looking for strategies to possibly gain community buy-in. And that's one of the most important parts of this process. In the past few years, certain narratives and stereotypes about affordable housing have really gone off the rails. And we've seen affordable housing become this very controversial topic. And I've read about developers feeling that they need to steer clear of affordable housing projects because it causes so much conflict and sometimes uproar in different communities. So let's talk about how we can break this barrier, shift mindsets, and gain buy-in for affordable housing projects, and just build this understanding of what affordable housing is versus what it is not. And the first step to doing this, and the first step to opening a dialogue with community members, is getting a sense of where their concerns are coming from in the first place. So studies show that community members are often apprehensive towards affordable housing developments for a few different reasons. These include, but are not limited to, increased traffic, additional costs and demands on schools, extra burdens on fire, police, and other first responders, stresses on water and sewer systems within the community, worries about the quality or the aesthetic of new housing developments, And going along with that, people worry about environmental issues spurring from the new development or a decrease in their own property values as a result of the new development. And then another component to this conversation that needs to be addressed is this unfounded idea that affordable housing will bring undesirable or dangerous changes to the character of somebody's neighborhood. People have voiced concerns about criminals moving into their community or people with no work ethic. And it's very, very, very important to note that these beliefs most commonly stem from false racial stereotypes, racial biases, and discrimination. And this is definitely part of a larger, more complex conversation. And we're going to open a discussion on the next slide, but if it's something that any of you want to talk more in detail about, Rupal and I are happy to separately have a conversation with you and open a dialogue on that, because it is a very complex topic and we want to address it to the fullest extent possible. But so now we're curious to know, what are your experiences with this? Are there any strong opinions on affordable housing in your community? What have you heard from community members? What are maybe some of the barriers to affordable housing or facilitators in your community that are moving affordable housing forward? And, feel free to respond, unmute yourself and respond, or if you're more comfortable talking in the chat, whatever works.
Well, I'll chime in while people are thinking of their responses for the chat. So I'm the Massachusetts statewide brownfields coordinator, and the hardest question, or one of the hardest questions that I get at meetings talking about brownfield redevelopment, is what are we going to do to prevent gentrification and minimize displacement? And honestly, as a state regulator, there's very little that I can do. But what I try to say is that if cities or towns have a role in the redevelopment, so maybe they own the property due to tax title as part of the process, or they have a say in permitting approvals and zoning approvals, that the strongest place to kind of lock in affordable housing is with a good community like master plan or a community goal for that area, and saying, okay, you know what, if we're going to help you redevelop this giant old mill building and you the private developer get to have profit on the other end, you got to give us something that is to the benefit of the city, and kind of capturing that as a municipal obligation that's on the property, like whether that's a zoning requirement or a set aside or an overlay, but some way to kind of lock it in as a long-term, either permanent or very long-term commitment. Because once it changes hands a couple times, people start to forget what the obligation was, unless it's like set in stone.
Mm.
Oops, I need to change the slide. Yeah, no, that actually sounds a lot like a community benefits agreement, which, yeah, we did a whole webinar on anti-displacement strategies. So if you're interested, there's also more information on the EPA website, but it's great that people in your community are concerned about displacement and gentrification, and that, they want to protect the residents and the businesses that are there. Anybody else have any experiences with affordable housing dialogue in your communities? I know it's a very hot topic and a lot of people have strong opinions on it.
And we talk a lot about the barriers, but also the facilitators, as Katie mentioned, are important to think about. If you've had any positive experiences with moving affordable housing forward, please do share. Or even challenges that you're seeing right now on the ground. Okay. Or anticipated challenges. How about that? That's the last straw.
And we'll actually talk about some myths on affordable housing and then the facts to go along with them on the next slide. So, oh, cost of materials, zoning and code restrictions. Yeah, definitely.
I'll chime in with one other observation, which is that there are often very few no naysayers, like the NIMBY people, but they're very loud. And so
Mm,
one or two very loud people tend to dominate a conversation. And so if you're having a public hearing and it has to kind of start at a certain point and end at a certain point, the quiet supporters may not really have their voice heard. And so one of the tools is to have kind of multiple community outreach sessions and kind of work group sessions where people are all in a room and they have to kind of sit around and have conversations. And it's very hard for someone to be that loud vocal naysayer over and over and over when there's a bunch of people having reasonable conversation. And so
mm.
sometimes the communication tools that are being used kind of not, I don't want to say promote, but make it easier for one person to be the naysayer as opposed to all the quiet supporters.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's a great observation. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, that's
And I
great.
saw as well Jill's sorry, Rupal, did you want to say something?
All I wanted to say was, just kind of, I think communication strategies are really important and how you frame how you bring people together. So I totally agree with that. And just to add, there are other ways. I think it is important to get representation from different neighborhood sectors and different community members that might represent, different populations in your community, inviting those folks, providing them opportunities for leadership positions, maybe as a panel, or being a member of a larger panel or smaller panels and presentations. Those are other ways to have diverse voices, and also then, as you said, not having one person sort of dominate the conversation around this. So I think there's ways to kind of bring in different perspectives and different ideas, through education, and then also, through education, but utilizing your community members that are already leaders in the community, but maybe haven't traditionally, been involved or participated in any of this type of, work or before, but care about their community in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely, Rupal. And Jill, I saw your comment as well about fear of the unknown, and that's a very good point. And I just want to thank everybody for participating in our conversation. That's what we have to do. We have to talk about all these topics. Um,
So how do we get fear
so
of the unknown? Sorry, I'm going to say fear of the unknown is, education, right? So I think you're
absolutely.
right. And go ahead, Katie. You can talk about some of how some of these myths versus facts can provide, that kind of level of education for folks in the community.
Yeah, definitely. That absolutely plays into it. Um, And also, before we get into this section of the presentation, I want to thank Jill again because Jill was a super instrumental part of our learning experience, and has just been great and super helpful and knows a lot about affordable housing. So we do want to thank her. Um, and yeah, we're going to take a look at some of the common misconceptions around affordable housing, as well as the reality of what affordable housing actually is and actually looks like. So firstly, we hear concerns about capacity. Affordable housing units will bring more people into our town. This will be too expensive. We don't have the resources to handle it. But a UConn study, and I'm sure many others, debunked this when finding that an individual experiencing homelessness costs the state of Connecticut around $33,000 every year, and a family who is homeless costs the state about $120,000 each year. So factually, it is more cost effective for states, cities, and towns to house people, and it's also the humane and right thing to do, more importantly. Um, and then the next myth is that affordable housing will put a strain on Savannah. I'm not sure that it looked at the municipal level, and I did mean to put the link. I will share the link with you. Yes, I'll make a note to do that. I did mean to put it in here, but I used Smart Art and it wouldn't let me add a link in for whatever reason. But Yes, I'll absolutely share that with you. Um, and then the next myth of affordable housing is that it will put a strain on first responders and healthcare facilities. And I know we've already talked a little bit about this, but when people have access to affordable housing and when people have access to the resources that they need to not only survive, but thrive and have a great quality of life, crime goes down and health outcomes improve. And that's just the bottom line. If anything, larger homeless or unhoused populations require more emergency healthcare and more emergency services for our first responders. And as our friend and colleague Jill said, a sheltered community is a vibrant community. And not only that, but it is a safe and healthy community. And then just getting into a few more myths and facts. A big sentiment in the concern around affordable housing is our schools cannot handle extra students that are going to move into these new affordable housing units. Um, Totally valid concern, but a Massachusetts study, and again, I will link this, or if you have access to the slides, I'll just like try to put it in the speaker notes or something, and I can send it to specific people who want the studies. A Massachusetts study found no significant correlation between housing developments and school enrollment, especially not one that would put any sort of burden on schools. You know, of course, with any new people moving into a town, there's going to be a few new students. But the likelihood of them all being in the same grade in the same class is just extremely low. I did read a case study of a school that needed to hire a new teacher, that needed to hire an ESL or an English as a second language teacher, but that was a super positive experience for all the students and all the other teachers, and actually enhanced the educational experience overall. Um, and then just moving down the list, the next myth about affordable housing is that it will lower property values of neighboring houses. Um, to put it, affordable housing units that are planned well, managed well, designed well, they don't have an impact. They've been proven to have no impact on the surrounding property values where they're built. Um, and again, this also came from a study. So I have all those links and I will be sure to send them out to people in case you're interested in learning more. Um, and then going back to this unfortunate and false idea that affordable housing will bring undesirable, dangerous people to the neighborhood. We already discussed where these beliefs stem from, and how they're not true. Uh, and the people that you'll see moving into these properties are seniors, they're people with disabilities. I know Jill mentioned people who can't afford to put a down payment on a house, veterans, first responders, college students, single people or widowers, and families, and especially single parent families. Obviously, that's not a comprehensive list, but affordable housing has been demonized in a lot of ways. Um, and as we've just been saying, we all need affordable housing. Everybody needs affordable housing. And with the cost of living today, that's becoming harder and harder to attain for anybody. So here are some strategies that you can use to open a dialogue on affordable housing in your community, specifically with community members that are apprehensive, fearful, or against the idea altogether. So we want to have an open, non-judgmental conversation. You don't have to shy away from people's concerns. It's great to ask about them, talk about them, and get a real understanding of why they may be opposed to this idea. And once you do that, you can start brainstorming on how you might address each concern, or if you already have measures in place, you can share that with community members and hopefully make them a bit more comfortable in the process. And next, we've talked a lot about the benefits and the positive widespread changes that communities experience when they embrace affordable housing. So just sharing that. And building an understanding of the collective benefit of affordable housing can help shift mindsets and ease anxieties around the topic. Um, we've also talked about how false stereotypes surrounding affordable housing come from racial bias. Um, And if you think your community would be receptive to it or it would be an effective conversation to have, you can absolutely have a conversation around systemic barriers, around access issues, around the racism that exists in housing policies throughout history, and how, the impact of these laws and policies is still heavily felt today for a lot of families. And again, I know that's a big discussion to have, especially with people who are strong in their convictions. But if it's something you're interested in, Rupal and I are absolutely available to chat more and open a bigger dialogue on this topic. Um, and you want to take the time to highlight solutions. So how will affordable housing improve quality of life for the residents in my community? And, think about your own town or city, and how it could specifically, your town or city could be improved with more housing opportunities. When you're having this conversation with people, it's always better to use real life stories, either instead of or in conjunction with, like, statistics, numbers. This just makes the issue more relatable, more authentic. Uh, and in that same regard, connecting around shared community values is a great way to bring people together. Obviously, this is going to be different for every community, but some common ideas may include the health, safety, security, fairness, and opportunity for any community. And you can just frame this by saying, we all want our community to be healthy. We all want our community to be safe and secure and fair for people. And, just fill in the blank with whatever value may resonate the most with your community members. And lastly, using different language can sometimes be helpful. Also, sometimes not. It really depends on the audience, but it's definitely worth a shot. People can get triggered or upset just hearing the term affordable housing because of the unfortunate negative connotation that it's built over time. So it can be useful to reframe this into housing that is affordable or workforce housing. uh, Rupal and I attended a community event recently, and people were coming up to us expressing this need for housing that is affordable in their community. And we agreed and we said, yeah, absolutely. Affordable housing is great, and we'd love to see that in your community. And, people immediately shut us down and said, no, no, not affordable housing. We don't want that. We want housing that is affordable. So language is definitely something to consider and keep in mind if you think it'll help you gain buy-in from community members. So this is a brief affordable housing guide that we've developed here at UConn Tab. Most of the information on this is in the presentation, but if you want it in a format that you can easily share with team members or print out, we're happy to send this out to anybody who's interested. This document is more designed for municipal employees, nonprofits, community leaders, and we're also in the process of creating something more geared towards community members as well. So one of the major concerns with affordable housing is that it won't blend in with the neighborhood, it will be low quality, it won't look nice, it'll bring down surrounding property values. So we just wanted to showcase what affordable housing can and does look like. The top left example is from EP Region 1, Cambridge, Massachusetts. There are 40, I can't read Savannah's entire question because I'm sharing my screen, Rupal. Penny, we can definitely, it's not on our website yet. Our website is a work in progress, but it will be. And I can send this to you. And then, okay, let's see. I see Savannah's question. Does TAB have any research about the benefits to using brownfields for housing? When a municipality redevelops their brownfields, some have lots of options about how to use the land, resources about the benefits of including housing and a remediation beyond a policy standpoint that speaks to some of the factors decision makers are receptive towards may make it easier for implementers to suggest it as an option. Absolutely. Beyond what we're talking about now, I I'll have to check back with my team. I don't know that we have any specific research on. It's something we're definitely working on. Do you want to chime in, Rupal? Or you're muted.
Thank you. So if I'm reading your question right, Savannah, are you asking, have we conducted any research? Is that what you're asking? Like if you're asking if we've conducted any research, the answer is yes and no. We haven't done what we would think of as traditional academic research in this area, but we have worked with communities to better understand. And when we do work with these communities, we do get a good understanding of what are some of the economic, social, and environmental benefits that they've experienced. So we have probably a lot of qualitative information, and that we may be able to share. So if that is useful to you, then please, if that's what you're referring to, have we gathered research in this area? Katie, myself, our colleagues, yes, we do have resources that we can share with you that can show, some of the benefits that communities experience based on past research from different regions and different communities. We do have access to academic research, so we should be able to find, which unfortunately not everybody has access to, we should be able to, put together some resources. If you're looking for something specific, please reach out to us. But as far as TAB itself, we haven't necessarily conducted formal research in this area. Is that helpful?
I think you covered it, Rupal. Yeah, and we're gonna have our contact information on the last slide, and we are really happy to talk more with any of you about all of this and provide any resources that we have at UConn Tab. But I'm not seeing anything more in the chat, so I guess I'll.
Oh, go ahead, Savannah, if you want to respond.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry if you have been muted. Feel free to unmute yourself and talk out loud if that's easier.
Oh, okay, I'm blue now, right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect, sorry about that. Yes, so I'd be more than interested in seeing anything that you have, whether it be qualitative or things that you find that are quantitative. I think where I'm coming from, so I work for Council of Government, or the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments, where we have our brownfield program. And so it could be beneficial in some ways to see, and I understand every parcel is different, but in comparable parcels, maybe by acreage or maybe in communities that have similar like market characteristics, instances in which a brownfield was redeveloped that only had commercial as opposed to a brownfield that was redeveloped in a mixed use or housing way, that it doesn't significantly change the property taxes that the municipality receives, or it's not like a larger expenditure on like utility, you know what I mean? Like those sorts of things maybe aren't directly related to the conversation with the community, which I know is what we're focusing in on today and is key in all of this. You don't want to do it without buy-in, but getting decision makers when buying the land or thinking about the land to consider housing in it, having some more quantitative metrics that are Connecticut specific that show that this isn't gonna change the financial incentive that led you to want to redevelop, could be really, really powerful.
I think so. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for asking that great question and helping us think about what resources we have and what resources we can put together. So I think that that would be helpful for all communities to have something like that, or be able to pull from, maybe several resources that they can, use for their communities or help other, developers and other community members relate to this issue, and also understand and feel more safe about the possibility of affordable housing. So we can look into that for you. And if you can reach out to either one of us or the email at the end of this webinar, then we can see what resources we already have. And if we have to do some research, we're happy to do that as well to help you compile some of those resources. How does that sound?
That'd be great. Someone from our team will be in contact. Thank you.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah, great. And we'll be in contact with you as well, Savannah, because I know you want the links to the actual studies. So we'll definitely be in touch. Um, so let's see. I know we're running a bit short on time, so I won't go over all of these, but I did want to talk about Orley Park in Sanford, Florida, because I just think it's a really great example of affordable housing. So the complex is home to 81 apartments specifically for individuals and families experiencing homelessness, and there's on-site services for mental health, job training, GED classes, after-school programs, and more. And just, all of these developments are obviously very beautiful, and I think they highlight what affordable housing can be and the great potential and possibilities that these projects have. And then just before we go, well, I wanted to take a look at an affordable housing success story in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, specifically related to brownfields. So this brownfield site was a junkyard, and before that was used for chemical storage. So EPA assessment funds were used and they found lead and arsenic in the soil. The site was eventually cleaned by Pennsylvania DEP. And is now an affordable housing complex. So there's a total of 50 units. Some of them are handicap accessible, and they're all across from Frankford Creek, which is a really nice recreational area. All units have a garage, Energy Star appliances, that nice vinyl and brick siding, HVAC that meets the energy efficiency needs of the city. So brownfields can absolutely be turned into affordable housing. And affordable housing that helps the individuals and families that need it the most. And we hope that, you'll all consider it for your current or future projects. So, our last discussion question, how could more affordable housing benefit your community? Feel free to answer that or just ask us any questions you may have about any of the content you heard today. Other than that, I know we only have a few minutes left, so we do have a feedback link for our webinar if you're interested in giving us feedback on what you learned today, and then our contact information. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, we have a few more minutes. We'd love to hear them. Affordable housing would actually provide access for people seeking employment. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, thank you all for attending.
Thank you. We still have a few more minutes, so please chime in if you have any thoughts or anything to add, anything we left out, anything that you think is important to share. We think of this as a community as well, that community of people that are interested in brownfields redevelopment, wanting to make changes in their own local community. So please chime in if you think there should be something added or want to have further discussion about anything. I do see something come up. We have less than 2% unemployment rate, but a 1% vacancy rate. Thank you for sharing these resources. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you both. Okay. Perhaps additional details about their process for getting to the positive outcome. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely, Dave. Thank you.
How can students learn more about these topics? I think it's great. One of the things that I do in my classes are I bring in a lot of guest speakers when I can, especially since we've been now having in-person classes again. I think even when you don't have in-person, I think it's a real opportunity. So I think students learn a lot from case studies. I found that to be true. And guest speakers, people that, if you have any folks that that can speak about this topic, and I know that the Brownfields class at UConn utilizes a lot of guest speakers. I think that has been real positive for students. So I think there's lots of ways students can learn, but real life examples through case studies, through guest speakers is, at least in my experience, been the most valuable for students.
Yeah, I see a lot of comments in the chat.
Like the
Jamie says, I would like to learn more about redevelopment using brownfields and funding around using brownfields for affordable housing. Yeah, absolutely. Funding is a big piece of it that we didn't cover today because this was focused more on the communications, but um, it's definitely something to explore. And if there's interest, we can definitely keep that in mind for our webinars next semester.
And again, feel free to reach out to us individually or have any of your colleagues, because we can definitely have a broader conversation about that as well.
And I saw Jill said affordable housing and market rate housing and mixed middle housing can work well together. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Yeah.
Oh, Joyce, no worries. Thank you for attending our last webinar. I know it's grant season, so we appreciate the time. I know things must be crazy for all of you right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It looks like we're coming to the end, and we appreciate your input and of course your feedback, and we hope that you reach out to us. We look forward to getting emails from you, your colleagues, any of anybody from your communities. We are a resource to you, and we hope to get to know each of you, each of your communities, and be a resource to you as you move forward in this journey. I guess that's what we'd call it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again to Jill, because I know
Yes.
Jill just said thank you again for bringing us great content. And really, Jill, you helped so much. So we really, really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for coming today.
All right. Have a good rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.
Ripple, would you just mind ending the recordings?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. All right.